I don't know if this is what Chloe was talking about, but I thought you spent also a little bit too much time on arbitration. You could have just quickly dispensed with it. This is a non-judicial, review. Instead of, I realized you were trying to go to your deep internet sources and everything to, make it to, fancy it up, shall we say. Should mandatory arbitration? Yes, in your best argument. By the way, can you tilt it back a little so, and then zoom in on her, because I want more of the waist up. Now zoom in on that's the shot. Thank you. Since I don't have a lot of time, let me talk about one of the important things that Arun talked about. When you practice more, practice the spontaneity. As if you're grabbing for words so that it doesn't quite seem so memorized or canned, but and my second point that I want to make is, so that there's a sense of a little more spontaneity in it, and not so much like robotic. My first point, my second point, my third point. I thought your signaling statement was good, a little long, but it hit home with everybody with the credit card. It's true. We sign away our rights left and right, and especially with this Harvey, whatever his name is, I forget. What is the guy's name that was the bad sexual harassment? Harvey Weinstein, yeah. It's come to fore that, all of these people signed away their right to do anything about it, which is really very sad. Your statistic on 21.4% was very good, very compelling. And having to pay if you lose the other side's fees, really good, and a great deterrence from people getting involved. Wrap it up. Okay. I would have you had more time. I think the juiciest part of this controversy is the sexual harassment realm, and I would have taken my intro from that, and I would have spent a little more time on your third point and flesh that out a little bit more. Your summary of conclusion, tieback were perfect. What can I say? I really like you as a speaker, but I'd like to see you do the things we talked about next time so that you're even more perfect. Thank you, Haley. Okay. And who will be on deck? Who else owes a two? You're the last one? Yeah, good. Good job on my time. Thank you.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Is Zihad here?
Yeah.
You're up front right now. Okay, good. Okay, well,
who hasn't signed the roll sheet?
let's see if that gets rectified. Okay. And you're a little bit near Blackboard. I know it's a crummy room, but okay, and you're in the power stance. And intentions, communicating respect non-verbally, finding friendly eyes near the front.
Hi class, my name is Zihad. On November 4th, 2016, I was sitting in a political philosophy class at 10 p.m. when we switched on the TV and saw that Donald Trump had been elected. And most of the people in the room were pretty shocked. Not because it was a Republican who won, because the class was fairly split, but because someone with such political inexperience had won. And it was ironic because that day we were learning about historical leaders who had such inexperience, and it caused a lot of problems in their forms of government. So today I was given the question, should the Democrats seriously consider Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for 2020? And my answer is hell no. I'll give you 3 reasons why I think this is the case. First, we have to take a look at our current president. Second, we have to take a look at his lack of a political affiliation. And finally, we'll look at just how this idea of him becoming president came to fruition. So this is really important because he would be our president. And, living here, I kind of would like to have a president who isn't a celebrity and has a little more political experience than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He's a great actor, but I don't know how he would do as president. So the first reason I believe that he should not be considered seriously for candidacy for the Democrats is the fact that we have of our current president. We take a look at Vox on January 9, 2018, and we see the Democrats have listed many celebrity candidates who they would put forward as their nominee in 2020. Names like Mark Cuban, Kanye West, Oprah, and even Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Now this is really weird to me because just a year and a half ago, we Democrats in general were complaining that a celebrity could not be president because of their political inexperience. So it's really odd that they're pushing forward a candidate who is probably more inexperienced than Trump because this man is an actor and doesn't really follow any political guidelines. So this is also important because the Democrats are late to the game, and we see that it didn't work with President Trump, or it's not really working, the idea of a celebrity president. They just don't have the experience necessary. So we see that this would also be a problem with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. The second reason that I believe Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson should not be considered for candidacy by the Democrats is because of his lack of a political affiliation. According to the according to CNBC on December 19, 2017, The Rock basically says he was a Republican back in the day. He was seen at many Republican booths. Now he claims to be an independent. And this is really weird to me because I saw a similar line of transition between parties in President Trump. President Trump was a Democrat, basically ran as an independent with some ties to the Republican Party, and now is the Republican president, essentially. So we should see a correlation between the two and see that this could be really problematic because the lack of a political affiliation could create problems within their own party as well as the opposing party. According to NBC News on February 5th, 2018, a lot of Republicans have been whispering that President Trump is out of his mind and cannot be trusted because we don't really follow the same guidelines that he does. So we see there's a distinct between the Republican Party and their Republican candidate who eventually became president. And the final reason that I believe that he should not be president, and this is possibly the most damning reason, is because of where this idea of him becoming president came from. According to the New York Times on December 15, 2017, he said he read a Washington Post article that said he might win. Now that's not really what I want to hear from a presidential candidate as the reason they're running to be president. But not only that, later in the article he goes on to mention that he won't even seriously consider running until 2024. So that's really, really important considering that if Democrats push him forward in 2020, you'll have a candidate who's not really into it in the sense that he'll be busy with movies and he doesn't want to run till 2024. So this will result in one of two things. The first one is either he ends up winning and is not prepared to be president in 2020, which will lead to more of the same we see in the current presidential run. But the second thing that could possibly happen is that he loses and the Democrats once again fail to obtain the White House. So either way, if the Democrats seriously consider him in 2020, it's not going to end up working out. So today I've given you 3 reasons why I believe Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson should not be seriously considered to the Democrats. First was looking at our current president. Second, we look at his lack of affiliation. And finally, we look at the reason he wants to be president. So there should be no doubt in this room that no matter how great of a person The Rock is, how funny of a person he is, how great of an actor he is, the Democrats should not consider him. And I really hope that in 2 years, when the next election results come out, I'm not thinking the same exact thing that I did 2 years ago when another celebrity is elected.
Thank you. That was 5:30. Thank you.
Rami.
Hi, Rami.
I thought the lack of note cards compiled with just the way you were speaking. It wasn't necessarily you weren't putting extreme intonation on anything, but the way you were speaking generally, I think kind of lended credence to the fact that you actually felt this way as opposed to you're just giving a speech for the sake of giving a speech. And you kept referring to, I don't want to see this, I don't want to see that. And I think that actually, in some speeches might not work as well if it's a like economic thing, for example, but in this like this scenario, it helped your speech and gave it credibility. So I like that.
Thank you, Rami. I think there was an element of passion to his presentation that aided in the credibility of the presentation. How could he improve?
Hi, I'm Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
So I think you did a really good job. So I don't have like too much critique to say. I think the only thing is, did you walk to that side of the room?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can't really think of anything. You did really good.
Okay. You did well. Okay, thank you. Oh,
Hi, my name is Leo.
Hi, Leo.
I really liked in your speech how you kept calling him Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and not just Dwayne Johnson, because you were trying to argue that he's a celebrity that had no political experience. And I feel like by calling him The Rock, you were really kind of emphasizing that.
I didn't do that on purpose, by the way.
Well,
You did it on purpose or not?
No, on purpose.
It just, that's the name you knew of.
Yeah, that's the name I
Daniel, did you want to make an additional comment? Go ahead quickly, or you're just giving me time?
3 minutes.
Yeah. We're going to get a couple more in. Good. Okay. Zahid, yes, thank you for not using your name, any note card, and referring to him mostly as President Trump. I appreciate that. I sort of just by the references figured out he was kind of an actor or a wrestler or something. You know? But I could tell when you kept calling him The Rock that he wasn't a geologist or something, that he was some kind of actor or something, So I agree with the comment here that it was helpful to hear that, being referred to in that way. And I want to say one other thing. I don't know when the American public is going to learn. We had it with Arnold Schwarzenegger, who tried to run California, and he did, into the ground. And now they're looking at Oprah, who gave us no vaccines for children. Thank you, Jenny McCarthy, who she put on her show week after week after week, and made her a famous star of no vaccines. And, Oprah, don't get me started on Oprah, but I'm just saying that celebrities are really a strange breed, but they have name recognition. And, I saw all these people say, oh, Oprah, we need you, we have to have you, and all this stuff. And I'm afraid they really do need an experienced politician, and I think that was your point very clearly. I think you made your point nicely, and I think that I would go to your second point in particular, which is the way he's flip-flopped around, said he wouldn't do it to 24, and he doesn't really have any convictions. You just ripped him apart completely and made him completely non-credible. So that was good. You had good Chicago footnotes and that sort of thing, and so I think you made a good case for not electing yet another famous celebrity to run anything politically. I think you've made a strong case that we've been there, done that, but I don't know that you're steepling. Quick, get a close-up of his hand. Do that again, yeah. No, you were doing this, sir. that you would figure that. Don't ever do that. That's bad news. That says I feel superior to my audience.
I don't.
Okay. Good. Just, don't do that or this.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm wrapping it up. Thank you so much, Mr. Zahi. Nice job. And no notes. Very good. Okay, any more? Number twos?
One more.
Oh, the hat. Okay. So you have to wear it, huh? Okay. Here we go, rock and roll.
So, hi, I'm Sapond.
Hi, Stefan.
Winston Churchill once said, "Democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others." And today, I'm going to be talking about one of those situations when we seriously lose faith in our form of government. So the question I'm going to answer today is, can Congress pass a DACA replacement? My answer is no for 3 reasons. 1, bipartisanship is no longer a virtue. 2, Democrats have no incentive to work with Republicans. And 3, the Democrats' hatred for Donald Trump. So the significance of this topic is that it kind of shows the deep political divisions in our country, and we fail to separate the politics from the person, and we fall into this deep path where it's, if you don't agree with me, there's something morally wrong with you. If you don't believe in the travel ban, you just want ISIS to run rampant. Or if you don't believe in gun control, the blood of these children's lives in these school shootings are on your hands. And so I go on to my first point, which is bipartisanship is no longer a virtue. And according to Pew Research Center in 2014, Democrats and Republicans are the most polarized ideologically than they have ever been. The reason I use this is because this translates to the House of Representatives, where they're much more responsive to their constituency because they're elected every 2 years. So for example, think of around the UCLA area, mostly Democrats. So if the representative in this area, Westwood area, worked with Donald Trump, do you think they would get reelected in 2 years? Absolutely not. So that's first reason why Congress cannot pass a DACA replacement. My second reason is that Democrats have no incentive to work with Republicans. According to Gallup in 2010, traditionally, historically, in a midterm election, the party in power tends to lose huge losses in Congress. The reason is if your party's in power, you kind of lose the incentive to go out and vote, whereas the opposite is true if you're not in power. And so because of this, Democrats, since they already have the wave behind them, there's no reason to work with Republicans to by any chance make them look good and suppress their own voter turnout in the midterm elections. My third reason that Congress cannot pass a DACA replacement is that the Democrats' hatred for Donald Trump. And I kind of saw this in the election time whenever New York Times reported in 2017 how Jimmy Fallon, he had this interview with Donald Trump, and it was like a softball normal Fallon interview where he was like playing with his hair. I don't know if you guys remember that at all. And there was this huge backlash because, how dare Jimmy Fallon legitimize Donald Trump? He didn't tackle him on any issues. It was just a normal like playful interview. And what I've noticed is that late night shows and media outlets have kind of catered their coverage to their audience, and this shows in a Harvard study in 2017 where they tracked the positive and negative coverage of President Trump's first 100 days in office, and they found that 80% of the coverage was negative, whereas for President Obama, only 40% of it was negative. And it's actually pretty interesting. You go down to specific media outlets, whether it's CNN or NBC or CBS or New York Times or Washington Post, and it was like 90 to 95% of their coverage was negative, which I guess, the amount of things he says that might be controversial, or his tweets, you could say, it's obviously far more. it makes sense why he has far more negative coverage than Obama. But at some point, you have to say, you know what, when is it excessive? And so if there is this amount of hatred from Democrats towards President Trump, why would the Democratic politicians work with him? So in summary, I've shown you 3 reasons why Congress cannot pass a DACA replacement. 1, bipartisanship is no longer a virtue. 2, Democrats have no incentive to work with Republicans. And 3, the Democrats' hatred for Donald Trump. So in conclusion, there should be no doubt in this room that DACA will not be passed by the Congress. And as a tie back, you know, for the past couple of minutes, I've kind of talked about, you know, these deep political divisions in our government and why things just can't work out and why bipartisan legislation can't work. But remember what Winston Churchill said. Democracy is the worst form of government except for all the others. The fact that I can stand up here and criticize our government is not a privilege that is shared in all parts of the world. And I think there's a reason that our founding fathers made freedom of speech the First Amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. 5:07, very nice. Got it within time. Where are we? Sure.
I really like how you conveyed eye contact throughout the room. It made everyone, or it made me feel very included in your speech. Like, and you did a really good job, like of keeping away. Even though you have your note card, you did a pretty good job of not looking at it as well.
Improvement?
Sure, it was a pretty good speech. I guess maybe just that last tieback part, it seemed like you kind of hesitated with it a little bit, but that was pretty much it.
Let's go with positive first. And I like your intro and your tie back. It's a great quote. I would have stretched it out a little. It says, democracy is the worst form of government. Except for all the others. Give everybody a chance to look. What is he saying? I don't believe that. And then give Winston Churchill his due of his cleverness. I really recommend movies, but if you haven't seen the Churchill movie, I recommend it. Anybody seen it? Probably won't, but it makes you appreciate a good politician. Really. Anyway, okay, back to reality. What do I got, 1 minute?
2 minutes.
2 minutes? Yeah, okay. Really good job this time, and really succinctly made your points very clear, and made them with good points. Pew Research, Gallup. 2010 was a little old. That could have been more recent. And the midterms, though, is good. I think the one point you missed is this, and that is that President Trump has offered to...
Oh, his proposal?
His proposal.
I was going to mention that, but then I thought it would take a whole minute just on its own.
Yeah. That would have shown you really being up to date, where not just 800,000, but President Trump said you can have 2,800,000
citizenship.
DACAs, and I will sign it. And he sort of called them on their bluff, which suggests the Democrats really are using the Dreamers as a wedge or something else. But if they really wanted the Dreamers to have rights, they would maybe have gone for this a little more seriously. Good. I also like where you got pretty reasonable about the excessive negativity in the press coverage. And the American people sense when there's piling on going on, when it's beyond just the regular criticism, and it's beginning to look like a
one of the
let's
things
get the guy,
One of the things that I kind of wanted to go into, but I could sense I was running out of time, was use the past couple weeks about North Korea and the Olympics and like the press's coverage of North Korea and how they're using it. Like they're comparing Ivanka Trump to Kim Jong-un's sister and saying, oh, they're both related to people in the charge of their country, and making like ties between Kim Jong-un and Trump.
Trying to humanize them. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, do we have time for one more?
That's all the second speeches.
That's all the second speech. Any third speech want to go today?
No.
Okay, no, I'll finish up
no,
these
no.
things. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll finish up these things. So all number 3 should be ready to go.
I have a question. Have we been able to choose our impromptu topics yet, or is that something that we literally do?
You do the week before you do 8th week. When's 8th week?
Next week?
Next week you will choose your impromptu topic.
Okay, and
Plural.
I'm just a little bit confused. Maybe you talked about it, but I haven't heard.
No, I haven't. You're probably right to be confused.
Okay. Are we supposed to prepare anything?
Yes.
Oh, we can prepare. It's not supposed
Yes.
to.
A wise student would prepare all 3. Because
For impromptu.
for impromptu.
They're a lot easier. You don't
And then I choose one of the 3, depending on my mood.
Can I get some logistics in?
Yeah.
Okay, so who still hasn't got their policy?
Policy usually like you just do like a short story book.
Okay,
Stay around.
everybody
Don't
signed up for
move.
the third speech, right?
What?
Everybody signed up for the third
speech. Everyone signed up for their impromptu topic, right?
I don't know. Last year.
No, you said
No,
That's
it's 8 weeks.
Okay, one more thing.
Which 3
Any questions on that make the signature? That thing's pretty long. Yeah, what's up?
He said to email you if we need the last 2 chapters.
Yeah.
Is your email on
You
the
have 3 topics.
What's
and
your
you
email?
just prepare like a short one.
first and last and third?
Any other questions?
Can I add the other two at email?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Who is Rami?
Okay, I'll just pass this phone around. Just give me a second.
Okay. Left to top. Cheyenne. Let's see.
There's a couple chapters.
Okay. All right. This is Cheyenne. Okay, Cheyenne, you want to come over here? Okay, did I clear up everything for you? I recommend you prepare all 3.
And each of those 3 speeches are how long? Are they supposed to be how long? And will we be penalized if they run too short or too long?
Yeah, you'll be penalized if they run too long. We don't have time. We'll do half the speeches the first 9th week and then the other half the 10th week. But everybody has to be ready 9th week. So don't try to be absent 9th week.
How long, like minute-wise, time-wise?
What is the time on this? 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
For the proper speech? Yeah.